Good morning. Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
My name's Dr. Andrew Capraro, last name Capraro.
On the surface, Monday looks like just another day of testimony in the Lindsay Clancy trial. But look at what the prosecution actually did with their witness order, and a pattern starts to show. This wasn't a random sequence of doctors. It was the second half of a two-part setup, one that started a week earlier in a house in Duxbury. I'm not here to guess what happened before a jury does. I'm here to make sure you actually understand what's known so far. Go back to last week for a second, because this is where the real story starts. When the jury was taken to walk through the Clancy home, most coverage treated it as a formality, a chance for jurors to see the layout. But watch what prosecutors actually built on top of that visit this week, and it stops looking like a formality and starts looking like the first half of a deliberate argument. A jury that has physically walked a scene doesn't need a diagram anymore. They carry the layout into every piece of testimony that follows. That's step one of building a case. Anchor the where and when so solidly that nothing said afterward has to compete for the jury's spatial understanding. Step two is what happened Monday. Once the jury has the physical scene locked in, prosecutors brought in the doctors, physicians from Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center in Plymouth and Boston Children's Hospital who treated the children the night of the killings. We're not going to walk through the clinical specifics of that testimony. That's not what this channel does, and it isn't necessary to make the point. What matters is the function this testimony serves. It converts the physical scene the jury already has in their heads into a documented, minute-by-minute chronology. Put those two steps together, and you can see what the prosecution is actually building before a single word about psychosis gets said. A sequence of events the defense essentially can't contest. Not because they're trying to hide anything, but because it isn't where their argument lives. Their case was never going to be about what happened. It's about why. And that's exactly where Monday pivoted next. Contentious questioning around a diagnosis usually means one of two things. Either the witness is giving ground reluctantly under cross-examination, or both sides are already fighting over how to characterize the same underlying facts before the jury has even heard the full picture. Either way, it tells you the same thing. This isn't heading toward a trial where both sides agree Clancy had postpartum psychosis and only argue about legal consequences. It's heading toward two separate medical narratives, built by two separate sets of experts, asking the jury to choose between them. And that choice matters more than it might sound like, because of the actual legal bar in play. Massachusetts uses what's called the McHoul standard. To be found not criminally responsible, the defense doesn't just need to prove Clancy had a mental illness. They need to prove that illness left her unable to understand right from wrong, or unable to control her actions in that specific moment. A diagnosis alone doesn't clear that bar. The diagnosis has to be tied directly to her state of mind at the time of the act. That's the real fight hiding underneath Monday's testimony. Not, did she have postpartum psychosis, but did it reach the exact legal threshold the law requires? Once you see that distinction, Monday's contentious questioning makes a lot more sense. Both sides know that clearing, or failing to clear, that threshold is the entire case. That's not a detail buried in expert testimony. That's the case. If you follow that logic forward, you can actually predict the shape of the next stretch of testimony without any inside information, just by looking at how the prosecution built this week. Expect both sides to bring in their own forensic psychiatrists. expect the prosecution's expert to argue Clancy understood right from wrong and could control her actions despite any diagnosis. Expect the defense's expert to argue the opposite, directly against the McHoul threshold. That's not speculation about the verdict. That's just what the structure of this defense requires both sides to do next. To be clear about what we're doing here and what we're not, we're reading the strategy, not predicting the outcome. Nothing about Clancy's mental state has been established as fact by this court. The prosecution disputes the psychosis claim. The defense is building toward it, and it's the jury, not us, not either side's opening statement, who decides which expert narrative holds up. Lindsay Clancy has not been convicted of anything. This is a live contested trial, and everything above is analysis of trial strategy, not a claim about guilt or innocence. Here's the specific thing to watch in the coming days, now that you can see the pattern. Not just whether expert witnesses testify about psychosis, but how directly each side ties their expert's opinion to the McHoul language itself. Whichever side does that more convincingly is the side actually winning this argument, regardless of how sympathetic or credentialed either expert sounds on the stand. We'll be back with another update as soon as there's real testimony to read, not on a fixed schedule, but as the pattern actually develops. We'll keep following this the same way we always do, carefully, and only with what's actually been proven.